I think I'm going to make a stop having sex video every week to give women that reminder for the 4B tenets of not having sex with men. But I wanted to talk about this video in particular and me entitling it Stop Having Sex with Parasites. And when I say parasites, I mean the male. So I just really want to get into this article really fast because I find it fascinating that these scientists have kind of figured out, why are men walking the planet? How did they get here? What is the reason for them being here? And what is their main purpose? So this article is entitled, Scientists Have Discovered Why Men Exist. And then it says infections from parasites. So this is written by Tom Baldwin, and this is the Science and Environment and Correspondent. And again, I'm going to link all of that in the description below. But the article starts, the reason for men's existence has long baffled many women, but scientists believe they may finally have found the answer to stop a woman's offspring from going down with the lurgy. Populations that clone themselves are entirely female and do not need sex with men to reproduce, as sex requires males, and males do not produce offspring themselves. An entirely clonal population should always reproduce faster than a sexual one. However, men are necessary to help the health of populations. Sex helps mix things up a bit. Researchers from the University of Stirling have found that populations produced through sexual reproduction could be more than twice as resistant to infectious diseases than those created by cloning. Men owe existence to infections. Infections from parasites could explain why males and men continue to exist, said Dr. Stuart Allude of the University of Stirling. The mixing up of genes that occur through mating allows populations to evolve to adapt to threats such as rapidly evolving parasites much more quickly than those created by cloning, which only involves the genes of the mother. This means that genetic mutations, which make a person stronger and ensure the survival of the fittest, will be passed on more rapidly through sex. Mutations can occur at any time, ultimate source of all biological variations on Earth. Sex combines them, repackages them, splits them up, and sex takes the mutations and amplifies the variations, said Dr. Allude. Dr. Allude also says sex versus cloning. Infections from parasites could explain why males and men continue to exist. Dr. Allude began looking at the relative merits of sex and cloning because he was puzzled as to why any species would bother spending the huge energy involved in mating when they could simply clone themselves. Sex explains the presence of the peacock's tail, the stag's antlers, and the male bird of paradise elaborate dance. But these use up huge amounts of energy and can come at a high cost. Peacocks draw attention to themselves through their feathers and get eaten by tigers, and the tail makes it more difficult for them to fly up a tree. But it attacks mates. It's a trade-off, Dr. Alud said. His team examined the issue by looking at the water flea, one of the very few organisms that can reproduce both sexually and by cloning. By comparing clonal and sexual daughters from the same mother, we found sexually produced offspring get less sick than their offspring that were produced clonally. The ever-present need to evade disease can explain why sex persists in the natural world in spite of costs, said the doctor. The research is published in the journal Royal Society Proceedings, Section B. The name of this article is The Psychological Benefits of Celibacy, written by Dr. Zoe Pa, the WebMD editorial contributor. She writes, few things are as personal as the decision you make about your sex life. Choosing when to have sex and with whom is a private process, and everyone comes to their own choices about sex. Some people enjoy a full sex life while others choose to abstain from some or all sexual activity. There are benefits to both options. People who choose to be celibate can find that not having sex helps their mental health. Some say that sex was a distraction or preoccupation for them, and abstinence helps keep their minds clear. Other people find that sex causes them stress and they're happier not worrying about it. She also goes on to write, what is celibacy? Celibacy is the practice of not having sex, but not everyone defines celibacy the same way. Some people abstain from all kinds of sexual contact, including kissing or holding hands. Others only refrain from sexual intercourse. Some people use masturbation in place of partnered sex. Others refrain from that as well. You might associate celibacy with religion, but faith isn't the only reason why people decide not to have sex. Reasons for abstaining from sex include preventing pregnancy or STIs, waiting for a certain level of romantic commitment, focusing on school or your career, managing mental health concerns, managing physical health concerns. Choosing the boundaries of celibacy can be empowering for people who want to make thoughtful choices about sex. Some couples choose celibacy together and set up their own parameters. Being able to talk about your personal sexual choices with your partner is a key part of voluntary celibacy. So then she says celibacy versus abstinence. Some people use the two terms to mean the same thing, not having sex for a certain period. Abstinence, however, is generally understood to be temporary. For example, you may use it as a birth control method until the time of unwanted pregnancy isn't an issue for you, such as after you're married. Celibacy implies more of a lifestyle choice where you're committing to never having any kind of romantic or sexual relationships. So in Westward B, the goal is celibacy. It's not a we're gonna just be celibate until men start to behave themselves. No, it's celibacy. Someone else, or she also wrote, I'm sorry, what is involuntary celibacy? For some people, being celibate isn't deliberate. The term incel refers to men who are involuntary celibate. They would like to be in a sexual relationship but can't find a partner. This is like what we spoke about when we spoke about the trans maxing and what a lot of men started to do in order so that they can get access to women and start to have sex. Many of them transitioned and they kind of said, well, if we become lesbians, then we would be able to have more sex with women. And that's what they did. It was first used in the late 1990s when a Canadian college student founded an online community of people, men, struggling in their romantic lives. Now, however, it's mainly associated with male supremacist extremism. She also writes, the celibacy includes self-pleasure. There are no rules around what does or does not qualify as celibacy. For some people, it means no sexual activity of any kind. For other people, it just means no penetration, masturbation, and some sex acts with a partner are considered okay. But then that's really weird because you're no longer celibate if you're having sex acts with a partner. So for the sake of West 4B, celibacy is not having any sexual activity with any male. Celibacy benefits. There's no doubt that sex is a complicated issue. While it's a way that many people express love and affection, it also comes with some risks. Some people, the risk of sex outweighs the benefits and they feel better if they abstain. So I'm not one of those people who advocate for women to turn into lesbians because they're not having sex with men. If you're not attracted to women, then you shouldn't be sleeping with women. It's simple as that. And a lot of women need to kind of think about why is, a lesbian the next thing because you are not sleeping with a man. I don't think that's fair to a lesbian if you are still attracted to men and you're kind of using a lesbian relationship to kind of buffer your proclivities at the time. I think it's better for women to kind of focus on solitude if they can and not harm the lesbian community that way, because I see that a lot. And you also see that in all of the blogs, you see that in Reddit spaces where a lot of lesbians are complaining that the women that they date present themselves as lesbians, but a lot of them are not. They're either bisexual or straight, or they're kind of in limbo. They don't really want to deal with men, and they're trying to try out women because it's the trendy thing to do. I don't think that's fair. You shouldn't really do that to people. But again, this is all, up to debate. She goes on to say lower stress, pregnancy, and sexually transmitted infections are very serious. Very serious risk people take if they engage in sexual relationships. Some people prefer to set aside those worries entirely by not having sex. Some people choose to only participate in sexual activities such as kissing, petting, or cuddling. Those activities have a low STI risk. Religious satisfaction, she says, for people who have strong religious beliefs about sex outside of marriage, celibacy can support their spiritual lives. They may feel more connected to connected to their faith, and can have a less concern about breaking their religious principles. I'm going to read that last line again. They may feel more connected to their faith and can be less concerned about breaking their religious principles. I am not a spiritualist. I am an anti-spiritualist. There's no proof that human beings possess a spirit. We do have proof of that ideology coming out of the Greco-Roman Empire, and that being stolen from ancient Egypt. We can go as far back as that to find out where the spirit or the idea of the spirit comes from. So if you are spiritual and you want to practice celibacy, that's fine. I don't advocate for any spirituality. I think it's good when people just sit in reality and deal with what they have to deal with. But that's just me. You could do whatever you want. She also says increased focus while abstaining from sex doesn't directly clear your mind. Some people feel more able to concentrate on school or work if they're not thinking about sex. Choosing to be celibate frees them from thinking about or planning sexual encounters. Without sex as a distraction, they can put all of their energy into other activities. Studies have found that girls who delay sexual activity are more likely to finish high school. Healing from trauma or grief, people who have been through a traumatic experience or lost a loved one may need to put all their energy towards healing. Abstinence gives them time to focus on their emotional needs so that they can recover. Personal development. Some of the spiritual goals of celibacy can apply even if you aren't religious. Some people who opt for celibacy do so to work on things such as mental clarity, mindfulness, and self-awareness. Decreased spending. If you aren't having sex, you don't need to buy contraceptives such as condoms or birth control pills. Those costs can add up. And then it says recovery. Treatment for sex addiction involves controlling unhealthy behavior. For some people, giving up sex entirely for a certain period is helpful. And then she goes into the drawbacks of celibacy, which I didn't really want to get into because a lot of it sounds very male-centered. It talks about like you need to have someone hold you at night. More bullshit. I'm not going to get into that. I do want to get into the benefits of celibacy and the benefits of not engaging in sexual intercourse with parasites, because we spoke earlier about men program women through sex. And the more sex that women have with men, the more she is willing to bend to his will. So when we talk about abstaining in 4B, this is what we're talking about. Abstinence is very important. Celibacy is very important for women to have the clarity they need to make real change in their lives. And one of the things that I remember is when West 4B kind of jumped off on TikTok, there was a time period that I made a flyer, and the flyer said, delete your dating app day. And I think the date was April 25th. So on April 25th, I held a live and I said, today should mark the day that we all, just as women, delete our dating apps. And I didn't have a dating app per se, but there were so many women that I knew that had dating apps. And this was in the wake of Sade Robinson. So I remember making a flyer or like a post for West 4B, and I put her photo up there and I said, well, in memory of this poor girl who went on a date because she met someone on a dating app, as women, we should all collectively get rid of our dating apps. Now, shortly thereafter, I remember someone in the group messaging all of us and saying, "Oh, did you see the new Bumble ads?" And the just to let you know, the time period where I had that live, where I was telling all women to kind of delete their dating apps, I think there was about 200 to 300 people in that live. And I didn't think anything of it. I just said, delete your dating apps. This is delete your dating app day. And I made of two flyers, one with like, the official date and this is the day we're going to celebrate this. And then I made one for Sade Robinson. And then the next few days, someone said, did you see the new Bumble campaign? And if you look at this video right now, you can see that in this Today article online, they have the dates of, it looks like May, and it also looks like April 30th, where Bumble decided to launch this campaign to get women to stop being celibate. And when I first saw that, it got me so upset because these are the same people who are essentially pimping women on their dating apps. The woman, and even though this is a woman who owns this company, for her to be so irresponsible and say, celibacy is not the answer, just goes to show you the pick me and the mindset of the pick me. And the pick me will always have men in mind when it comes to her dealings with other women. Never mind the fact that Sade Robinson was, hacked to pieces and her body parts thrown all over the United States. No, let's not pay attention to that. I'm a woman, I'm a billionaire or millionaire, multimillionaire, and I need for my money to keep flowing in. So let's pimp these women out to these men with no parameters on whether or not these women are going to be safe. And then, just throw it out there that they shouldn't be celibate. And this is all coming after so many women, especially in spaces like TikTok, you have all of these men, these red pill men, talking about body count. Every man on the internet is talking about women having these high body counts. So yesterday, you went to the online dating space and you told all women to kind of sleep with you on the first date and how sex didn't mean anything and how, fucking you meant that you were sexually liberated. Then she listens to you again, as she has always listened to you for the past 12,000 years. She racked up a nice body count. And then today, or the next day, Andrew Tate comes on the scene with Kevin Samuels, who are men who are sleeping with random women, and they convince other men to kind of look after the body counts of women. So now she listened to you to get a body count, and now you're shaming her for the body count that you essentially told her to get when dating and online dating popped off on the scene. This is what I say when I say that men are contradictory. This is a prime example of it. So you have Bumble, and they decide to kind of say celibacy isn't the answer, but they never ever address the fact that men are shaming women because of their high body count. And it's just so irresponsible. And I think that the best thing that women can do is to continue speaking and to remember these times. Because what we've seen historically with men is that they do things like this and then they change up overnight. Women forgive them and then they're laying back on their backs 20 minutes later. It always happens. So all of a sudden you see so many men claiming that they love Black women and they love women and that women are beautiful and they're wonderful. Yeah, because women are not dealing with you anymore. This is the reason why so many men are changing their stance on how they see women, because they're losing access to women. But women can't see this happening and seeing that men are verbally changing or verbally giving you lip service to get you back to get back in your good graces. You cannot afford to have them lie to you and play this game again. You cannot afford to do the back and forth anymore, because right now, politically, women are losing everything. They're even losing their rights to call themselves women at this point. This is how strong the grip the man has on the minds of women. Women are not even allowed to verbalize who they are. They're not allowed. They don't want you to call yourself a mother. They don't want you to call yourself a woman. They don't want you to have any sexual autonomy or bodily autonomy over your own person. They don't want you to have anything for yourself, and even your spaces they're trying to invade. And the what boggles me is that women are not angry enough. So I think 4B comes from a seat of anger, and in some cases, anger can be a really good thing. But celibacy is also a really good thing, because with celibacy, you have less to worry about as a woman. You don't have to worry about STDs. You don't have to worry about getting pregnant. You don't have to worry about getting a painful IUD procedure. You don't have a lot of shit to worry about. Do you know the stress that some of these women go through with their husbands on the street? They don't sleep. Some of these women, some of these married women are miserable when their husbands leave the house. You, as a celibate 4B'er, because I like to say that 4B'ers, you as a celibate 4B'er, you don't have shit to worry about. Your main concern in life right now should be getting healthy, getting mentally strong, taking care of your body, taking care of your home, taking care of all of the things that you need to take care of so that you can live a long time on the planet. Again, I am not a spiritualist. I don't believe in life after death, or once you leave this planet, there's another life awaiting you. No, this is it in my head. This is it. So you should live the life that you want to live, and live it graciously and deliciously. So when we talk about celibacy and how important it is, I really believe that it's important to the happiness of women to kind of stay celibate and to stay away from men, and to kind of deal with men only when you have to deal with them, and not allow them to invade your personal space. The goal is for you to cut off the parasite, not to engage with the parasite and procreate with the parasite to make more parasites off of you and further erase yourself down your line. We were also speaking about that in the Discord, that there's so many women in the Discord who have children, and their children don't even have their last name. So you're essentially erased in the life of the children that you're doing all of this work for. Meanwhile, his name carries on into the universe, right? His name carries on after generation after generation after generation, and he didn't even do any of the work. So this is parasite behavior to me. It's parasite behavior, and it should end with women of West 4B. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching again, and see you next time.